And without further ado, I'd like to ask Alexis to introduce himself. There you are. Hi.
Hello. Bedankt.
Oh, wow. Dutch even. Here. Thank you. Alexis, I was introduced to you as the founder of Venum League and also the author of the book on digital integrity.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm very anxious to learn about what you have to.
And I'm founding. I'm a board member of the Swarm Foundation, which is that's my connection with Swarm, helping out Gregor, Victor, Daniel here in Neuchâtel in Switzerland to make sure Swarm has a structure which is fit for a great future like we're building right now.
Wonderful.
So maybe I'll just start sharing my screen. It was working before, so let's try. And I think that should be working. Yes. Perfect. And yeah, just as a small matter of intro, so I'm professionally active in the crypto scene since 2013. I created a broker, Bitty, in Switzerland. Now I'm working on, I'm the CEO of NIM Technologies, which is creating a mixnet. And before that, I was always like an activist in privacy focused thematics. So while I was working on the crypto, professionally on the crypto side, on the brokerage and all the development of the ecosystem in Switzerland, I was also working on this thematic, which is called digital integrity of the human person. And also I'm working about this since a long time, and it's actually a tool for me to better understand the what was happening around me, because I couldn't understand why all of this, and we'll go into some details, were happening. I needed a tool for my understanding, and actually this tool was pretty interesting, and it allows to talk about privacy, to talk about personal data in a mostly European context, and actually now it has some implication in existing constitution right now. So I think one of the key things that experience that I had to live, because I come from the privacy network, because I come from also like the sphere of online activism. I mean, we were all very much affected by what happened in the Pirate Bay story. And what was interesting in that case is a very short scene from the Pirate Bay tribunal where Peter Sunde is talking to the judge, and the judge wants to be he wants to be connected to Peterson, and he says, you tried to meet IRL, and Peter Sunde said, no, we don't use the expression IRL, meaning in real life. We prefer AFK, away from keyboard, because we think the internet is for real. And that was a kind of like a big confrontation between two generations. One was thinking that IT is just a tool, and the other one is that IT and the digital space is actually part of life, and where you have real experiences. The other kind of like event, which I was not making sense of it, is then when we have people talking about personal data being the oil of the 21st century. And that feels always wrong. And actually, a lot of industrial strategies in Europe or in the world have been built on that principle, trying to harvest data and use it, extract value out of it. And even if it's abusing the individual, doesn't matter, as long as it provides so much powerful value. I didn't feel that personal data was oil, because it was touching me personally, and so that was also a core thing. So then when discussing with people, and being myself a lawyer, specializing in e-governance, I was looking at, I noticed that there was a search for a core digital human right, something that would be taking all in consideration. And until now, we had some rights. We have the right for privacy, but it's not good enough. We have the right for we have certain right of transparency, which are not good enough in the whole to take the whole concept of digital human life together. And it has to be something which is simple and understood by all. So I'll go bluntly in it. The concept of the right to digital integrity is that you have to understand that first, we already have a right for physical and mental integrity. And so we can extend this to the digital integrity of the person. And basically, the integrity in general of a person, is it physical or mental, is actually a way to guarantee that the autonomy, the liberty, the way the person can make his own decision is guaranteed. So this is something that the society has to provide to the individual, not just to so that not just that the society doesn't hurt the individual, but basically the individual has to be in an environment which is safe, and in an environment where the individual can make its own decision without any outside pressure. And that's super important when you talk about democracy, of course. I believe that this concept of physical and mental integrity should be extended to the digital space. So that's the main concept of it. Okay, so there is already some work that has been done. It doesn't come from nowhere, and especially in Germany and in Switzerland, there was a right to digital self-determination, which has been rising, has been already protected. But actually, a right to self-determination is not, it's something that should not be necessary to express itself. We don't have a right, we don't have a written right of non-digital self-determination. It is there, but in reality, it is protected by our physical integrity. So if you look at constitution, if you look at fundamental rights, you don't see that the human person has a right to self-determination. You see that the people are protected for their integrity is protected, and they have certain liberties, and this is actually what in effect protects their right to self-determination. So again, the digital integrity, if we add the digital dimension to the protection of integrity, it automatically encompasses the digital self-determination, which we are already seeing being enforced by judges in Germany and in Switzerland. So these are examples indeed that in German it's called informationelle Selbstbestimmung. That was already set in 2008 in Germany, and in Switzerland there is an obvious, and it just has been confirmed by the Federal Council, that there is a interpretation of the Swiss Constitution that within the right for within the right of privacy and within the right of being protected from the abuses against its own personal data, there is a right for self-determination, which is included in there. But if you don't express it correctly in the Constitution, it's always something which is difficult to construct. As a lawyer, you should always try to see what is the interpretation, and the interpretation is also locked based on where it says. So right now, this principle is within the right to data privacy, or to privacy in general, and it's always a very hard logical step to move it outside of this concept. So I was looking for something which was wider. So the idea is where to put this right to digital integrity, and it's actually to put it in the right of life. Right of life is the most important rights that we have, and you will see that in most constitutions or in most human rights declarations, you will see the right of life very high. It's the first right that the society is trying to guarantee to the users, to the individuals, because if you don't have the right of life, then you cannot have all the rights which are coming afterwards. So the first thing is that a society and the state and all the institutions should not just kill you. Otherwise you cannot be free in that environment. So the right of life in the Swiss Constitution or in the European Charter of Fundamental Rights is directly combined with the right to protection on physical and mental integrity. This is exactly where we have a logical space. After physical, mental, we can just add right to digital integrity, and that will represent our digital life. And the digital life is also something that is common right now in our language. A lot of people talk about the life, but in reality, our life is digital. Our lives are digitally extended already. And if we would imagine that you would have like a moment where all the data which concerns you, which are about you, which that you did, were completely wiped out of the existence of Earth, then you would not exist anymore in the eyes of the society, because everything is recorded in database. Your existence is recorded in the database. So basically, there is no way to get out of this digital life because the society provides that way. So one of the consequences of it, and it goes with the right to self-determination, is that the personal data, then once we say, okay, the person has digital integrity and has to be protected, the question is, okay, how is this digital integrity made of? If I'm talking about physical integrity, it's pretty straightforward. We say, oh, the body is there, and we know what the body is. In reality, it's not that easy, and the legal system, the judges have been doing a lot of jurisprudence to try to find out what are the borders of the body and when life starts. Is it after a couple of days? Is it after 2 months, 3 months, at birth? It's very hard. When someone is in the coma, does it still has a right to to physical integrity? Has its right to life? These are hard questions sometimes, and there has been a lot of jurisprudence around it. Mental integrity is even harder because you can have brainwashing someone is not acceptable, harassment is not acceptable, but at the same time, making advertisements, that's even though it's a kind of abuse of your own mental system, that's acceptable up to a certain degree. You're maybe not allowed to do some subliminal messages. So you see, every harm around this can be measured. So one of the consequences that we are trying to do with this is that we are going to consider the personal data of the person the same way we consider the body. It's something which is not really defined, personal data, but what we know is that they are part of the person, and it will be up to the judge to define exactly how it is related to the person. But it's a kind of blurry thing, but which are part of the person, which means that they have the same legal characteristic as parts of the body. That data should be inalienable. That means you should not be able to sell your data like you should not be able to sell your body. Of course, the society will, that's a very strong statement, but at the same time, the society will define what is acceptable. Maybe some part of your bodies can be sold because it's not harming your own person. For example, your hair. Your hair is fine, it's a part of your body, but so it's same in terms of data. Some data could be collected, some data maybe not, but the idea is the optics that we're going to push is that we are using an optic, which is that data is part of the person. Data by definition cannot be sold, and only in certain cases with consent and with certain rules, then we might open up these data to elsewhere. So harvesting data itself is something that is harmful, not just like using the data against the person, but actually harvesting the data and spreading this data around, like like it is happening right now with 30-party providers collecting our profile data so they can sell us advertisement without our knowledge. That is something which is actually already harming our digital integrity, and I think it should be completely forbidden. Like, we could actually enforce some criminal law around that. So it's really a conscious that this universe is not something which is parallel, like Angela Merkel said, it's Neuland. It's really something which is an extension, and the hard part of this, because it's an extension of life, like life in reality, we cannot expect everyone to be fully aware and fully conscious of exactly where is my own digital body and my own digital self. I mean, right now, all our legal system is created with the perception that we are in control of our personal data. So if we have a problem with someone mistreating our data, we just go to see the judge, or we see this party and we solve that. But it's not true. Most of the people, and even people within this room who are maybe tech savvy, we have no clue how much data is around us, and we have no clue how much data is used against us. So the system that we are need to design needs to protect us, and not in a way where we need to go and to know where the data is so we can defend ourselves. So this is also helping to break the nothing to hide logic. What is the nothing to hide logic? You know, I mean, you might have a lot of discussion in your families and with your friends. It's like, yeah, if I have nothing to hide, I have nothing to worry. And this is actually also a logic that governments, to say state surveillance or business surveillance, will push to you, saying, well, if you don't have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry. But that's a misconstruction, I think, from actually what we try until now. Today, we put the digital rights only within the framework of privacy, but in reality, it's not just about privacy. Privacy is an extremely important element of it, but in reality, the scope of these digital rights is about your whole life, not just about one of those tools that you have. So, and your whole life is also your digital space. You need to have a safe digital space to be a free person in there. And it's not about hiding stuff. It's just to be able to make your free decision. If you have DNS censorship, it doesn't affect your privacy because it just blocks you to go somewhere. But it does affect your capacity of like getting information and being more informed. For example, if a government has 0 days and is using 0 days within a govware, they keep the state of the network around you in an insecure way because they know flaws that you don't know, and this puts you into danger. It affects your digital integrity without affecting your privacy. So we can break out of this logic and talk about digital integrity. Digital integrity and GDPR, very quickly, these are like not incompatible. It's something that goes higher. Digital integrity is a fundamental right, and GDPR is a good example of law that implements data protection. So this is one specific tool that will help. But what we are going to try is to give more scope to the GDPR, make it stronger, because if it is there to focus on a higher value, it will have more effectiveness. One of the things where GDPR is totally not acceptable in reality is that it allows the states to not be to not apply the GDPR if there is some kind of reason around security. And that's not acceptable, because in physical integrity, for physical integrity and digital integrity, you still have your rights. You're not allowed to, I mean, if you are beaten up by a police officer in a prison, that's normally not something that should be acceptable, because people know it's not acceptable. It is against your right to physical integrity. It does happen, but hopefully in good systems, we try to avoid that. But here, basically, when it comes to data, the GDPR says, well, if the state is mistreating your data for security reason, then it's fine, So no, digital integrity, the respect of digital integrity should also apply to states which have a role model to play then towards the industry. So the idea of digital integrity put into our constitution is that it forces our states, our organizations, social structure, which are going to evolve also with time. So it's not just a matter of like doing it with our current system, but it's a matter of like doing it for our social contract, basically, whatever the governance we will have in the future. And it's to be self-aware that whatever rules that we have around us that we build up with our institutions, they need to respect our digital integrity. And so they don't do any actions that will harm individuals also in the digital space. And normally it should push people to, it should push states to give us education to the kids on how to protect and to live the digital autonomy and to use those interesting new tools which are coming. So basically what I'm trying to explain is that the right to digital integrity is actually the general justification, it's the general framework of the right to data protection. So we were used to the right of data protection as our only tool, but in reality, that's just one tool that we're going to use to protect our digital integrity. And the way we engage ourselves in Bitcoin transactions, for example, by signing with our digital signature coming from Bitcoin, this is a very strong a sign of autonomy as a human person. I'm mastering my digital space and my digital values and my digital assets. And this is actually also an expression of our right to digital integrity. So the possible implementation, I have saw 3 of them, but 2 of them are big ones. The first one is in the Charter of Fundamental Rights. There is an Article 3 about the right to respect to physical and mental integrity. In the Swiss Constitution, there's Article 10, alinea 2, where every person has a right to, in particular, to personal liberty, and particularly to physical and mental integrity, and to freedom of movement. So we just need to add the digital world, and then suddenly we create a great dimension of like, okay, the human life has been extended to the digital sphere, and we can start protecting the people, and we can start allowing the people to express themselves as as digital human beings also in their extension, and being autonomous. And then it favors all the autonomous related tool. So it gives a large push to our community. So in Switzerland, we have already 2 implementation which are ongoing. They're not enforced yet, but they will be coming soon. So in Switzerland, we have a federal level, so we have local constitutions, and some of these constitutions were actually adopting fundamental rights also. So now we have 2, Valais and Geneva. Valais is building a new constitution. It has nothing to do with it. They were cleaning up their constitution, and they had a whole process of making a new one. And they have added this concept first in the Committee on Fundamental Rights, and now it's presented in the first public draft of the future Valais Constitution. There is the right to digital integrity, which comes with another right, which is really interesting. It comes with the right to control your own identity. And that's really interesting, because when we presented the right to digital integrity to this committee, they had their own vision. They developed their own new things. So they tried out. They also had the right for anonymity, which was set there, but they didn't put it there at the end. Okay, they could have. They would have been bold, but they did add the right to control your identity, which is very important in the framework of decentralized digital identities. Then the Canton of Geneva, they actually pushed at the parliament. They presented the constitutional law, some of the member of parliament, and basically the cantonal government is actually preparing the law. They called me, they're making auditions, they're preparing the application law because they said, well, we think it's going to pass and the people are going to vote for it. And because of the timing and everything, people will vote yes. So we're already preparing the implementation of it. Hopefully locally in the canton of Neuchâtel, where I'm located, I'm also helping to push some of the work there. So yeah, so that's the debate in Wallis was really interesting. So the right to control its digital identity. There was a right which was not added, sadly, is the right to not to be surveilled, measured, or analyzed. I think that was pretty interesting. And one other final right which was put there finally is also to allow any individual to communicate with the authority, with the state, without using a specific technology. And you shouldn't see this as something which is like anti-technology. No, it's really actually, we shouldn't be in a situation where the state is forcing you to use a certain technology, which we can see now. Some states that force you to use an app, and this app actually forces you to use Google and to give data and statistical data. It like expand your digital footprint without any knowledge. You're not in control of this data. So it's very important that this kind of rule should come. We set up Wikipedia pages. There is no English one. There's a French one. There's a German one, which are very starting to grow. What is interesting is that as soon as we had the Wikipedia page, then the subject became real. We had our first legal publication that was a conference in 2020 last year that was called The Right to Digital Integrity in the Law University of Neuchâtel. It's all in French. I'm sorry, there's not much publications right now in English, but we focus on the French because it was necessary to move the forces here in a local space, because this is a place where we can push the minds. And so this book is really interesting because there's no, I put an introduction, someone from Wallis, from the Constitution of Wallis, puts its introduction, and then there's all the professors from university, the civil law, criminal law, constitutional law, who are presenting all their different opinions about them. Most of them are pretty positive, I have to say. Well, now there's already 2 works in Constitution, so it doesn't make sense. Myself, I did the work. I did a kind of political or like philosophical essay in French. It's called Our So Precious Digital Integrity, and the idea is to explore a bit all the why, I mean, more in details, where does this come from, this concept come from, and actually that there's a lot of sources. I mean, it's not a concept that just pops up from nowhere. There's actually work that has been done towards that direction, and it actually can give some also perspective from future in terms of like how identity is managed, how the government should behave. So it's an essay, so it's not very precise. It doesn't want to be like a very like the first one, a very rigorous work, and but it's a way for me to continue spreading out the word. We did a lot of events. Okay, that's okay. And yeah, and so the future work that we're doing right now is that we are spreading out this concept. There's the first PhD thesis, which is being worked on in the university in Czech Republic. I'm pretty happy about this. I had a discussion with the lady who's doing this, and it's really great. She's even sponsored by her university to do so, and hopefully we will have like a federal initiative. I also pushed the subject in the European level. There was a consultation about the digital rights, and so we propose this. We'll see how far it goes in terms of these rights. So yeah. So if you say to yourself, yeah, that's great, Alexis, but what can I do about it? Well, I think one of the things that is important is being able to work on your tools, building those tools and see if it's helping for people to protect their digital integrity. I myself now work on NIM, which is a which is an anonymity layer network, and it will help our digital integrity. Swarm is a project I'm also involved in because it will help to protect our digital integrity and how it's built. So I think really like continue to build tools towards this control of our data, control of ourselves, and to protect ourselves from the rest are great things. Of course, every time if you are in the legal course, if you are going through some legal battles, you should say, hey, you are harming my digital integrity. It has to be like used, and people, the judges have to be to be aware of this concept and start working on it like they did for the physical integrity and the mental integrity, because these concept will take years and years to be refined by the society and through the judge's name and of course, like every time also, like if you're being hurt yourself in digital world, you can say, hey, that's affecting my harming my digital integrity. So that's a good way to help also, just by using this term when you feel it's appropriate to use it. Yeah, and so for some more resources, mostly in French, sorry, vinumerique.ch, that means digitallife.ch. I think the certificate is just broken, so I will fix it, don't worry. But there's some resources, mostly in French, and if you have questions, I'm really happy to listen to you, to answer to your questions, and I hope you did enjoy my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexi, for the inspiring talk. It's refreshing to see the battle for these concepts to become part of our day-to-day life as a legal building block for a functional metaverse, I would say. With the extension of our of our rights towards the digital realm.
Yeah, you're right. That would be totally in the frame of that. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll take to one question, but Melanie's already here as well. We have projects and startups we have currently attending. You explained a bit. Okay, you can use software like NIM. You can visit the websites. If a startup would like to embrace this concept, make sure that it's reflected in their architecture and design, in the way they handle data of users, what would you say to them right now?
So I think that is something we just kind of start like now, really putting in good words, and I think thanks to NIM, we were able to do so. I think what's the important thing is, until now we were trying to build privacy. We understand that privacy and cryptography and the use of cryptography for privacy is like a key thing that will protect our digital life. Is one of the use things. So that's good. So we're trying to use these tools to make things better. But the problem is that we are building this on a transparent layer. Transparent meaning the web is transparent, the TCP/IP is transparent, Bitcoin is transparent, Ethereum is transparent. I mean, all these things that we are using right now are extremely transparent. And in NIM we had this discussion: how do we build a good privacy system? So in order to build a good privacy system, it's a bit like we have to have a system which is first fully anonymous, and that's the thing. You cannot build privacy on top of transparency, because privacy is how you say, it's a communication between two people, and you decide how much you disclose to the other, and you can decide, I want to be private in that discussion. But to be private, you need to be not seen by the others. So if everything is seen, if you have a discussion, even though we encrypt between the two people, then it's not private, because we can see the metadata and everything. So the idea is to, every time you build something, is that first you make everything anonymous, and then you build your service on top. And there, once you open up the ports, I mean, you open up the communication between the two, you disclose exactly what you want, and it's completely invisible from the outside. And then you achieve good privacy. Yeah? So I would say that would be a key approach: is always build your privacy tools on top of fully anonymous systems.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And for all participants, if you'd like to know more about the legal implications of data handling and how to work with this concept in combination with GDPR, make sure to be there on Thursday as well, day 4, when we have several legal speakers as well. We'll be going in depth more on GDPR and data handling. So thank you again, Alexis. And
thank you very much for the invitation.